Hello, my name is Travis Good, and I'm hailing here from Indiana. My video presentation is over Edgar Allan Poe's The Masque of the Red Death. At first I thought the story was about King Henry III, since he was reigning at the time of the Black Plague, and the more I read, it didn't seem to fit, so then I thought it was about Nero, Emperor Nero, and didn't seem to fit after that. But it did at first with the madness until I started reading further on in the lavishes and things like that and the luxuries. So then I came to the conclusion it was just a made-up dude. The story itself starts off painting a vivid picture about the Red Death itself, how the look of horror on a person suffering from it, and equally the look of horror of someone watching somebody die from it. This goes on for a couple months, and the prince decides that it's near his doorstep, so he decides to hightail it out of there, and he gets 1,000 nobles that are still left in his kingdom to go hightail it with him and retreat back in some other big castle. And you gotta look at the lavishness of this dude, and the securities of his other nobles. I mean, if half his population at that time has been decimated by this Red Death, how is it that 1,000 nobles or his closest friends still live? They must have some, moats and keep the peasants out in the Red Death itself. The story itself continues in the castle that Prince Prospero and his friends retreated to. About the lavishes there. He had jesters or buffoons in the poem. I had to look that word up. And improv artists, ballet dancers, musicians, and beauty, which I took as many women, and of course wine. You can't have a big ass party, without lots of wine or alcohol in that matter. Then it goes on to say that during his 5th or 6th month at this retreated castle, which means this timeline of the story, has already been 11 months to a year since the Red Death started. That's a lot of time, to be secluded out, and to not take care of your, constituents, so to speak. He just thought they were just peasants at that, at best, and if you weren't his friend, you were, the poorest of the poor, not worth, his glance or his admiration for you. So he decided to throw this big kick-ass party, this masquerade, and the prince himself is, baddened or something to him, and people said in the poem that, or the short story, that, you have to be next to him, know him, and even touch him to make sure he's not mad or real. And it talks about all these different colors and all these rooms, and Mr. Poe paints this very vivid picture of each Gothic stained glass window at the entrance of these long, lavish quarters with their collars. So much so, though, but he doesn't really describe exactly what's in there, but you get the idea from them, and you use your own imagination, make the story even more enhancements or things like that, and just draws you into it. He's a master wordsmith, Mr. Poe, and anybody, it's not arguable, he is. Now, I love clocks and watches. I collect them, fix them, and sell them, or even build them on the side. And my heart kind of raced a little bit when we were talking about this huge ebony clock, grandfather-esque type clock in one of these halls. And every time it chimed, when it struck the top of the hour, everybody, the orchestra, the waltzers, everybody, even people talking, drinking, they all had to stop because of its hugely insane sound billowing and echoing through all the halls. That's something that I'd like to have, unless I'm trying to sleep. But other than that, it'd still be a pretty nice clock. The next part of the story talks about the prince's decor, and how he likes to decorate things himself. And I have to read this verbatim. They describe him as grotesque, glitterly, phantasmal, piquancy. I had to look that word up too. And that means an agreeably pungent or sharpened taste of flavor, pleasantly biting or tart. I'm a simple farmer from Indiana. That's how I grew up, and many words I've never heard of or read before in my life, even though I've read books. And this, every passing moment in college makes me vividly aware of how much more I have to read. But this is good. It helps me out and learns. Now, during Mr. Poe's description of the Prince Perspero's taste, the clock strikes again. This time everybody has to stop again, and it lets them see how... Sorry. Yeah, so lost where I was. Sorry about that. Clock strikes midnight this time. You know, the witching hour. And because of the huge 12-long blast, and it doesn't really go into saying if there's music involved, but usually at noon or 6, you know, music plays, or 6 p.m. anyway. But it doesn't say it in this one, so I'm assuming it will not, because it doesn't describe it anywhere. All the festivities, the liveliness, the orchestra, the waltzers, you know, the people getting drunk, you know, people playing grab ass with each other, the whole 9 yards. Everybody had to stop. And this time, since they had to wait until the count of 12, they had plenty of time to look around and converse or whatever in between chimes. And that's when they see this masked figure come strolling through, weaving in and out of everybody, you know, with a purposeful, slow gait with their step. You know, and to me it's like Cinderella, right? You know, it strikes midnight, everything goes to hell, you know, and, you know, to me I think it's kind of like a little metaphor too, because when the people are dancing, you know, the waltz, I don't know if you all either watch it or waltz it. I actually, even a farmer from Indiana, know how to waltz. And you're spinning in a clockwise motion, just like the clock. So they all have to stop, you know, and I think it's like a metaphor later on. You'll see, you know, they stop the revolutions, the clock stops the revolutions. So it's really neat. Now this mask that these people see, they describe as grotesque and horrible, terrifying, and it leads you to believe and wonder what really type of mask are they talking about, because this is a macabre type party, you know, ran by a really macabre, sick, twisted prince. So what type of mask would make them all gasp, you know, and turn away and murmur and talk and whisper to each other right and left? You know, and it turns out that the mask itself is this ghastly, corpse-like face, kind of similar to somebody that just died from the Red Death. And it had blood splattered all over it, you know, like, not like huge amounts, but like speckles of it everywhere, you know, kind of like the person tried drawing their, or exhaling their last breath, and instead blood gurgled out and it went, you know, all over the face, you know, and that's the type of mask that it's describing. And tactically speaking, this person that waltzed in at midnight, you know, waited for the best time. I mean, these people were, you know, having such a great time. They were really tired from dancing, standing, talking. They were drunk. They were fat with food, you know, the whole 9 yards. You know, and if this person, which in my guess would, I think, had the red plague and was purposely serpentinely type, you know, weaving in and out of people, you know, through the crowds and making sure that they get a good whiff of this huge, deathly disease that's all it takes, and within a matter of moments, you know, you're convulsing and throwing up and dying from it. And yeah, so tactically speaking, this guy person did a great job. Now, eventually, with all the murmurs and rumors and whispering and everything else, it finally got to the prince in one of the other rooms. And when the prince turned around and saw it, he was appalled and gasped. Even he couldn't even think of, anything that, ghastly. And after a while, he, got some balls and decided to yell, "Arrest him! How dare he!" And nobody moved. Not a single person. Not one soldier. Definitely not a noble. And here's this person just weaving in and out still, going in between the people until he gets within 1 yard. 1 yard of the prince himself. And nobody did anything. And just walked right on by and continued through the rooms, the yellow room, the green room, the velvet room, the purple room. Finally, the prince grew a pair, pulled out a knife, a nice polished one, and ran at this person and got to almost within striking distance and fell in a heap. Ah, that's right, sable carpet. I don't know what that is. I didn't look that up yet. And fell in a heap in the sable carpet at the feet of this party pooper, this intruder. And it was at that time that the other people in the party finally decided to make do, and they all grew a pair and grabbed at this person. And when they rudely and purposefully and applying all their strength, ripped this mask off, this ghastly, ghostly figure that was basically dressed like Death himself. When they pulled off the mask, they realized there's nothing there. Like a phantasmal type of thing. Which leads to believe it was Death himself. And that's when everybody everybody started dropping like flies and dying here, dying there. And when the last person died and snuffed out, the clock chimed 1. And it went 1 chime and it billowed through the halls. And that's when, like I said, the person died and the fires went out. So the moral of the story is kind of like a Final Destination type thing. You can't avoid things. If you would have went through something head on, you might have lived. You might have not. But you might have helped somebody else live. But if death comes to your doorstep wearing a blood-peppered Guy Fawkes type mask, don't let him in. Thank you.